My name's Scott Stollar, and I help overwhelmed heirs leverage property to reclaim their lives. You may have just lost someone, and oftentimes when you're preparing their home for the next step, whether it's selling it, renting it out, or moving into it yourself, you're gonna have to clean it. So let's take a look at a couple of steps to make cleaning out a home easy. Number one, you gotta sort through all of the stuff. You gotta figure out what's important, what you're keeping, what has sentimental value. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to start with the documents. When you're going through the documents, there are a couple of things that you really need to look for. Those are things like trusts, wills, social security cards, bank statements, birth certificates, and death certificates of any of their parents if you have them available. There are a few more, and for a full list, we have resources available for you. Just contact us, we'd be happy to get that to you. Now, once you've gone through that and you've looked for those key items, the next thing you could do is pretty easy. You're going through the documents and you could throw away the things that you don't need anymore. Like the cell phone bill from the last 6 months. Do you need that? Nope. Throw it away. You may need to make a note of who it is so you can tell them to shut it off. But other than that, you don't need to have proof of payment. And as you're going through homes and belongings, you really want to be methodical about it. Take a little bit of time as often as you can. If you have the option to not do big rushes on the weekends, that's better. Doing a little bit of work a couple of times a week or every night, if that's available to you, is the easiest way to get through it all without feeling overwhelmed. A common mistake that a lot of people make is that they try and just go through the whole house at once. And there's going to be some time that the entire home looks like a tornado. You're going to be looking for specific items that have sentimental value to you or other family members or friends, and oftentimes it's easy to get distracted and lose the point of focus. So to stay away from this, I recommend just working on one room at a time. And it often helps to find the main living room or family room or wherever you can find that's downstairs and has a big area, and start with that first. The reason why I say that is because these big open areas usually have less stuff in them. Maybe they have a bunch of decorations, but that's usually the most of it. And things like sofas or chairs, you can usually figure out pretty easy if your family members want those. And if they don't, buy nothing groups are great resources to get rid of that furniture. Just make sure that the person picking it up has a way to transport it back to their living space if you can't help them. Also, if you're physically unable to help them lift that, make sure that you communicate that right away so that they can arrange to get some help. And it saves you a lot of time and frustration in dealing with others if you could communicate that stuff from the get-go. The sort method starts with sell. So once you've cleared out this living room space, you want to block it off into 4 sections. Your first one is going to be all the stuff that you sell. Put everything that you think has value there, and oftentimes, don't be surprised to find out that something that you think is valuable isn't. One of the easiest ways to do that is to have an estate sale company come over, and even if you're not going to work with them directly, just interview them. See what their thoughts are and what has value and what doesn't. Leave an open mind and be open to their professional opinion. Number 2, I have a great estate sale person that I personally trust, and I call him over for a lot of clients' homes. And I ask them, what do you think this is worth? Where do you think the best place to sell this would be so that the person can get the most? Oftentimes the things that he's interested in, he'll make an offer on the spot. And he's super helpful in letting you know where the best spot to sell it is. And just to give him a shout out, that's James at the Treehouse out in Valley Center. He's a great guy and he has sales at his barn every month. Definitely worth a check out if you want to find some cool things. Now, the next area that you're sectioning off is going to be things that you want to offer. Those are things that you're offering to other people in the family, other friends. Maybe you heard that someone really wants something. You put that there. And you want to make sure that they have a chance to look through it before that stuff that you offer goes to the Goodwill or the DAV or one of those organizations that's charitable that would appreciate getting that stuff from you. You don't want to give away something that has sentimental value to someone. Now, the next section is the things that you want to retain, the items that you want to hold on to. And if you have a big family, or if you have someone that had a lot of stuff, or the loss is very new to you, it's easy to get too much stuff in the retain section. I know when I was clearing out my parents' house, and our family had lived there for 30 years, and there was a lot of stuff in there. It was hard for me to get started, and we got to a point where I started way too late. I had to move out of that house in a week, and I had barely started cleaning it. All my friends who said they were going to help me wanted to kill me. My grandpa was pissed off as can be, and everyone's like, are you kidding me? You didn't do anything. And yep, I was that guy. I was also 24 years old, so I'm trying to use that as my excuse. And we sold a lot of things. There was this big buffet hutch that my grandma did not want me to sell. I didn't like it. I didn't want it. The thing weighed 10,000 pounds. Grandma was like, your mom paid a lot of money for that. My mom bought it in the 70s. Turns out she paid about $1,800 for it. That buffet hutch had a lot of details. It was made out of solid hardwood. It was handmade by someone. It was a really nice piece. It just wasn't my style. Grandma insisted that we held on to it just because my mom paid $1,800 for it back in the 70s, which turns out would be worth close to $9,000 today. But because she loved it, Grandma wanted to hold on to it. It ended up getting moved over to Grandma's house by me, which I didn't want to do. It sat in Grandma's dining room until Grandma died, and then thought, what the heck, let's try and see if someone would pay us some money for it. Turns out it wasn't worth anything. No one was willing to pay for it. No one even wanted to come pick it up for free. We ended up having to donate it to a charity, and I again had to move this thing that weighed 10,000 pounds out of 2 homes now. So it's important to understand that just because you think something has value doesn't mean that it's important to hang on to it. But it is important to know those stories of the items. Maybe something that you think is trash actually sparks a memory to one of your family members. You never know what experiences your parents had with their parents before you were even born. So it's important to honor and hear those stories. And when I was looking through the mountain of stuff, there was one thing that was super important to me that I held on to at my mom's house. My parents divorced when I was pretty young, so that meant that my grandma was taking care of me after school. My mom would drop me off at Grandma's house early in the morning. Grandma would give me a ride to school. And as soon as I got out of school, Grandma would pick me up. She was like that grandma in Happy Gilmore. She would actually play hockey with me in the driveway after school. I had the best grandma I ever could have asked for. And no matter how much I appreciated that relationship, my mom was my mom. And being a young kid, going through all this change in my life and playing around in Grandma's house and running through the backyard and doing whatever I was doing, getting into whatever I was getting into, when I'd come back in to see if my mom got home from work yet, because the light was changing just enough to where she should be there to pick me up, the first thing that I walked through before I saw her car, before I saw any clue that she was there, I would see her keys. And on her keyring, she always had this tiny little screwdriver. It was a flathead screwdriver that connected to her keyring. And every time that I saw this, it meant that Mom was there. Before my mom died, she had some very serious problems with alcohol, and I never understood them, especially because of my age. And I never understood the way that she reacted to life and the choices that she made around alcohol. And I felt that because of that experience with alcohol was a big part of why I lost her. She was only 54 years old when she died. She had no terminal illness. She died of heart failure because she didn't take care of herself. And the medicine that the doctors gave her caused heart failure when combined with the chemistry of the female body. When I saw that key ring that had been held on to, it reminded me of those times that I was excited that my mom was there. And I wanted to remember those times that my mom was there for me. So out of all the stuff that I could have kept, that one little keychain was what was the most important to me. And I still have it now. Just because when I look at that, it means that she's there. She's there for me. And the thing that I've learned the most, one of my biggest takeaways from going through this process and helping others through this process, is that as you heal, the way you perceive these things will change. As you heal and as that develops and as this process just processes through you, through your emotions and through your mind, items that seem to hold insurmountable sentimental value at that time will start to change, and you'll find the stories that matter to you. So it's important to listen to those, to listen when other people share those stories with you. It's important to know your own story and to be honest with yourself. And if you're not taking the time to do that because you feel like you're in a rush, you're actually shortchanging your future. because now you're moving along this stuff. You're kicking someone else's life down the road, down into your next house, down into the next person that has to clean it up. So the things that you decide to keep, be very targeted with those. Don't keep something just to keep something. It's important to recognize if something actually has sentimental value to you, or if you're just holding on to it out of the fear of the loss, or out of the anger of the loss, or if it's just part of the grief and you're just trying to hold on. It can be super challenging to do that, but if you can find the courage to sit with yourself, you will be rewarded immensely in time and well-being just for taking the time to do that. Now, the last section is probably one of the easiest. And it comes from this because all of those other sections, the things that don't fall into that place, or the things that kind of keep moving around to the other sections, and maybe you couldn't sell it, maybe you couldn't offer it because the Goodwill didn't want it, maybe no one had any sentimental value to it, and you decided that it wasn't something that you should hold on to. Those are the items that go in the trash. It's not uncommon to have big chunks of trash to go through, and sometimes people can feel very overwhelmed with how you get rid of that. And the quickest reaction that a lot of people make is to just go straight to ordering a dumpster. I'd encourage you to do the dumpster last. When you do the dumpster first, it costs you over $100 each time that dumpster gets dropped off. Also, if you're in an HOA, you may need to get HOA approval. And if you're not in an HOA, you need to be able to secure the dumpster so that other people aren't filling it before you get the chance to. Now, I found a few resources around that are great. Of course, you have Junk King, or you have the college hunks that pick up junk, or whatever it is. You have those companies. They do have a minimum of what they'll pick up and a minimum charge, and that can be pretty costly. So there are other options where you can get rid of a lot of stuff for a lower cost before you go down one of those avenues. And one of the most important things to keep in mind is to go back to that offer section. Who are you offering it to? There are places like Pick Up Please. Pick Up Please is great in San Diego County because if you have those extra items that can be donatable, but you're not 100% sure where they should go, Pick Up Please is a great resource. They do limit you on how many bags they can pick up at a time. As long as you can put them out there where they can access them, they'll come back time and time again, as many times as you call them. So even though there's a limit on how many bags they'll take, as long as you're not trying to give them your trash, they will continue to come and pick up other goods for you. So even with this approach, it can still feel difficult to go through the entire process. You're going through wild changes in a short amount of time. And people will make the decision on what they need to do with the house before they even look at how to get the house ready to sell or rent or move into themselves. So it's actually important to start here and to start figuring out how you're going to clear out the house. So although it can be really difficult and challenging to go through all of this stuff and figure out what you should sell, if it's even valuable, if someone will even pay you for it, or if you can offer it, and if people will even accept your offer or your charitable donation. And then going through all the things of what should I actually keep? What actually has sentimental value to me and my loved ones? What do my loved ones' friends care about? Although that can be challenging and it can feel time consuming to do that, take a breath. You have time to do it. Focus on one room at a time. Use the sort method to make it easy on you and create one area where you can work. So this one area becomes your staging ground so that you can start to organize what goes in the sell pile, what goes in the offer pile, what goes in the retain pile, what goes in the trash pile. When you start making those different sections, you can start digesting through them quicker and you'll actually move ahead a lot faster than you had imagined. If you need help with that, or you don't know where to start, or you say, you know what, Scott, we're looking at a total hoarder situation, this doesn't apply, it's totally fine. Give us a call, 760-697-5661. We have resources that we've built just for people like you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you're the first to know when new content like this that can help people like you going through a loss comes out. If you have a specific question that you'd like us to cover, please dump it below in the comment. Have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.